Chapter 1. Ask a good question rather than give a fair answer. Surely it's far better to ask a probing question and extract a high-quality answer from another person, which you can then learn from, rather than going around the houses with a long-winded explanation. Power Questions bases itself on that very idea. Sobel and Panis interviewed the CEO of a top Chicago-based company and asked what impresses them the most when they first meet a prospective business associate. They didn't talk about long presentations, and they didn't even mention knowing their stuff. But the thing they found most impressive was the ability to ask insightful questions and listen to the answers carefully. The ability to ask carefully designed questions and listen to the response is a way to connect with those around you and impress in the business world. The simplest thing in the world is the most impressive to the CEO of a $12 billion company. It comes down to being able to ask questions which delve deeply and inspire the other person to open up and give you a more detailed response. A good question can challenge the other person and allow them to explore the subject rather than answering with the first thing that enters their mind. Even the great Albert Einstein agrees. I have no special talents. I am only passionately curious. Albert Einstein. The simplest question in the world can cause you to stop and ponder. They leave you struggling to find the words, and these questions are often designed to do that. Power Questions teaches you how to be a key question asker, to learn from responses and apply them to your own life. Did you know, despite Albert Einstein claiming to have no special talents, he developed the theory of relativity and is one of the world's most renowned physicists, even 65 years after his death. Chapter 2. Streamline a conversation and add value. Whilst trying to impress in the business world, you'll find that difficult questions are rife, especially in job interviews. You're nervous enough to start with, and such questions leave you wondering what to say to secure the job, knowing that the wrong answer could put the whole thing in jeopardy. The most common question is, tell me about yourself. Instant panic. What should you say? Sobel and Panis suggest changing that difficult question into another question, such as, what would you like to know about me? Or, what part of my background are you interested in? This is an insightful question because not only does it allow you to zone in on the part of the situation they're most interested in, but it gives you a few seconds to calm your mind. As a result, you're streamlining your answer and cutting out the babble. Zoning in on the area of interest before answering allows you to avoid moving into uninteresting territory when you answer. Turning the question around in this way also allows you to build up a rapport with the interviewer, or any person who asks you this type of question, prominently in a work-like situation. You're able to design your answer in a way which hits their interest spot, rather than talking about a part of your life that isn't perhaps that pertinent to the current situation and what they really want to know. Did you know, most people agree that the most challenging interview question is, what is your biggest weakness? Chapter 3. Asking someone's opinion makes them feel valued. When someone asks for your opinion, it's far more than a question. It's a suggestion that you care about their views and you value them. So it makes perfect sense to ask the simplest of questions. What do you think? How many times have you asked this question yourself in the past? At the time, you probably didn't realize its power, but in the business world particularly, it can help you to build up a rapport with colleagues and can also help you to network and find interesting and useful views to utilize in the future. Asking someone's opinion makes them feel valued and encourages them to give a more detailed answer. When you ask someone, what do you think? It's not possible to give a yes or a no answer. It requires an explanation. Once the person starts giving you their ideas and opinions, it's up to you to listen to it carefully and pick out the pieces of information which are useful to your endeavor, whatever that may be. You can then ask further questions to enhance the experience and to delve a little further, such as, and why is that? Learn from the opinions of others by listening carefully and pulling out pieces of information that are useful. You will leave the person with a sense of positivity because you valued their opinion enough to ask for it. If you're a manager, this is the ideal question to ask your employees. It shows you value them and that boosts morale, which has a direct link with productivity. Chapter 4. The Art of Careful Listening. By learning to really listen to what someone is telling you, you learn far more and you develop a sense of trust between you, which is invaluable in the long term. When you listen properly, you're not only listening to the words being spoken, but you're also listening out for tone of voice, speed of speech, and other nonverbal cues, such as body language and facial expression. This can tell you far more than words, and it is called active listening. Active listening is the art of listening to words and tone, but also looking for nonverbal cues, such as body language. By learning to listen properly and empathetically, you will encourage the other person to offer far more in their answer. This also encourages other people to engage with you more readily in the future too, which is vital in both your personal life and your business life. The empathy side of the situation also allows the other person to feel that you care about their well-being and their points of view. Again, this deepens relationships in all situations and creates a bond of trust that can be called upon again in the future. Did you know? Only 7% of communication is about the words you say, 38% is the tone of voice, and 55% is nonverbal, such as body language. Chapter 5. Think like Socrates. The ancient Greek philosopher Socrates understood far more than he was ever given credit for, and he was still given credit for quite a lot. The unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates. The mindset of Socrates is something you can utilize in all different aspects of your life, working on the idea of questioning and delving deeper rather than simply assuming something to be true. Jumping to conclusions is a huge barrier to communication and can also be the source of many conflicts. Socrates had no time for conclusions that were not based on analysis and deep thinking. This is something you should work with by delving deeper with probing questions, aiming to get to the heart of the real meaning or opinion of another person. Jumping to conclusions and making assumptions are huge barriers toward effective communication. This is all about questioning and analyzing and not thinking back over past experiences or your own conclusions when trying to come to a firm solution. You can develop a Socrates-like mindset by asking questions rather than using statements or assumptions. Rather than saying, "We need to save money," say, "How can we work together to create a budget?" Rather than saying, "I am sick of you losing your temper," say, "Can you understand how your angry outbursts make me feel?" If you don't understand something, ask the meaning rather than allowing an assumption to simply be formed in your mind. Ask a question rather than make a statement to initiate a deeper conversation. Asking a question rather than making a statement or simply assuming something allows you to explore the subject matter and signals a deeper conversation. This is positive for both people. Did you know? Socrates is wildly credited with the achievement of paving the foundations of modern philosophy in the Western world. Chapter 6. Every person on the planet has a unique story. You have a backstory. The person you're sitting next to has a backstory. The person who is walking their dog over the road also has a backstory. The key to developing your own knowledge and interests lies in learning from others. The single best way to do that is to ask the question, "How do I get started?" Asking "How do I get started?" helps you to understand more about those around you. It's a conversation starter with a difference. This simple question is important in several different ways. Firstly, it is a good way to engage another person into telling you more about them, and it helps them to feel that you're interested in what they have to say. Secondly, it provides you with a wealth of information that you can use to learn from yourself. This is a good question to ask someone with whom you want to learn from or generally engage with, and it helps to pull their story out. You can ask this to anyone at any time, and it's a good icebreaker too, especially in the business world. If you're networking at a conference, you feel that a particular person would be a good connection for the future. You can attempt to break the ice via the art of initial conversation. The answers you get and the story could be fascinating. You never know the life someone has led until you ask them about it. Everyone has a story, which could include information you can learn from. Chapter 7. Rewind a conversation towards a positive outcome and avoid a misunderstanding. Occasionally, a conversation can start on the wrong foot, and when you continue down the same path, it can quickly lead towards a very negative outcome. Thankfully, there are ways you can rewind and apply some damage limitation. Sobel and Panis suggest asking, "Do you mind if we start over?" as a way to signal that you're not happy with how things are going, and you want to ensure no misunderstandings are made. This helps to avoid damaging relationships between close friends and family members, and can also avoid a major disaster in the business world if a client has misunderstood something you have said. The question itself is quite disarming, and as long as you accompany it with a smile, it shows that you value the discussion and don't want it to end badly. It's a signal to start over. Avoid a misunderstanding by asking if you can start the conversation over. You can use this question before the conversation starts to err towards being too emotionally charged or before it turns into an argument. Obviously, this means being mindful of where a conversation is going and the types of verbal and nonverbal communication cues that are being used. Understanding verbal and nonverbal communication helps you understand when a conversation may have taken a negative turn. A good example is a discussion between two friends. One may have taken something the other said in the wrong way. "What do you mean by that?" they fire back with their hands on their hips. That's a clear sign that the conversation is going somewhere you didn't want it to go. By smiling and asking if you can start over, you're avoiding disaster and potentially saving the friendship. Did you know misunderstandings arising between employees and managers costs up to $37 billion per year? Chapter 8. Seek to learn from others. Every single person on the planet is a wealth of untapped knowledge, and by having deep conversations, you're able to access that information and use it for your own future good. If a person has been away on a business trip, perhaps they've been to a conference or they've been traveling for personal growth, asking, "What did you learn?" is a great way to find out more information and also indicate that you're interested in what they have to say. Obviously, this boosts relationship quality and indicates deeper connections are on the way. Asking, "What did you learn?" allows you to learn more via the experiences of others. Sobel and Panis believe that we don't learn from our own experiences that well, because we tend to point the finger of blame at everyone around us, or the situation itself. However, by asking someone what they learned from a situation, you'll find it easier to observe that information and use it for whatever endeavor you can in life. We attribute our successes to our own capabilities and performance, whereas we pin failures on other people or external circumstances beyond our control. Andrew Sobel. In a mentoring or coaching situation, this type of question is also invaluable because it helps you to understand whether or not they're grasping the meaning in the right way. Chapter 9. Turn the conversation away from you to build trust. Many times, we tend to make a conversation about ourselves, simply out of habit or because it seems easier than trying to pull information out of another person. However, whilst this might make you look quite knowledgeable, it does help the other person to feel connected to you. This is because relationships are a two-way street, and you need to know equal amounts about the other person too. As a result, they don't build a bond of trust on their side. Two-way conversations are required to build trust between two people. Participate fully. If you struggle to try and encourage another person to talk, ask a very simple question of, "Can you tell me more?" It may seem an incredibly simple thing to ask, but it prompts the other person to delve a little more deeply into the situation or the subject they were talking about, and allows you to probe even deeper if necessary, with a simple how or why. Asking if someone can tell you more prompts them to give more information and think more deeply. Obviously, you shouldn't ask this question constantly, otherwise it simply looks like you're deflecting the conversation away from you, perhaps because you have something to hide. However, it is a very useful trick to use when you want to pull a little more information from another person, and you're struggling for ways to do it. Did you know? Studies have shown that it takes around 7 months to build trust with another person. Chapter 10. Ask for feedback to learn more about your strengths and weaknesses. If you want to learn more about yourself and how others see you, including the strengths and weaknesses that you might not be aware of, it's a good idea to ask for feedback. However, simply asking the question can be awkward and can lead to the other person simply telling you positive things out of worry of telling you the truth. Honest feedback is a great way to learn more about yourself and identify areas you can improve. You can use this question in any situation, be it in a work situation, at home, in a relationship, or a friendship, but it can help you to gain an insight into how others see you. The question you need to ask is, how do you see me as? And the gap needs to be whatever relationship you have with the person. Example, leader, manager, colleague, friend, or partner, etc. We assume that people around us respect us for who we are, but you're never too old or too experienced to learn something new. You can't understand what you need to learn unless you ask for feedback. You're never too old to learn something new or develop an existing side of yourself. This is a good question to ask when you want to know the truth, but you need to be sure that the other person is going to give you honest feedback. So make sure you ask those you trust around you to be honest with you. It's a great way to shake up your view of yourself and allow you a good insight into what you might be able to improve. Conclusion. Learning to ask questions intelligently and profoundly allows you to build deeper connections and puts you on the path to success in several different areas of your life. Many people are worried about asking deep questions out of fear of intruding in someone's life or digging a little too deep, but asking these questions in a sensitive way allows you to put them at ease. As a result, they will open up to you and you can learn from the words they say. Communication also relies upon the ability to listen carefully, something most people aren't good at too. Nonverbal cues can often completely contradict the words someone says. So being mindful of body language, tone of voice, and speed of speech is vital to ensure that communication is effective and doesn't lead to misunderstandings. Try this. Rather than jumping to conclusions or making assumptions, try asking a question instead. This disarms the other person and gives you more information. Learn how to understand body language by identifying common signs, such as avoiding eye contact and holding arms over the body. Number 3, try asking people their opinions to build confidence. This is a great relationship builder.